exchange. And really, that is the just exactly how simple and how easy and how natural it can be. Um, and I'm super excited to just be here and sharing that with you and bringing our version of economic liberation to this fabulous retreat at this fabulous location. And since we're a relatively small group, I would love it if, so that we can continue to have conversation in a more dynamic way, if we could maybe start on this end and folks could just, we could go around the circle and introduce each other. I'm Yvette. Yeah. And Davis, Elvis, and Gloria are part, and Ingrid are part of the BAOBOB team. So I'm really excited that we're all here together, and they have a lot of experience with this particular version of bartering, barter to the people, that we've kind of brought forward. So, oh, thank you.
You just have to point it like that way.
I have to point it that way? So, and when I go point it this way, will the first screen come up?
After I put it up.
Okay, cool.
You just tell me when to put the first screen up.
Now is a great time.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Rin. Do we have audio?
Love to Light. My name is Britt Sense. I am a documentarian from Deep East Oakland. I travel to document the effortless beauty, authentic, unapologetic, divine spirits of melanated people all over the world. When I think of the barter system, I think of the ancient ways that melanated people come from. I think of tribe building. I think of pure connection. I think of transparency. I think of being intentional. I think of activating our spirit to tune into our proper being, which is the creators of this earth. I think of accountability. I think of us getting to the root of our trauma so that we can see ourselves as reflections to not only build ourselves, but each other. We have been conditioned to go against our tribal ways, and practicing the barter system is a revolutionary act against that mentality. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
And that statement comes from Britt Sense, a documentarian and photo alchemist who is a supporter and participant in Barter to the People. And I really loved what she had to say because it really gets to the core of what we're trying to bring forward. And really it's a resurfacing of what we already know. And I just really thought that she encapsulated it very well, and that it gets to the root of what we are experiencing as disconnection, is largely in part because we've lost touch with some of the practices that are important to successfully being able to barter. So I am going to just, see if this works. Point it that way.
I'll do it.
Thank you. So in preparing for our conversation today, I did a little bit of looking into what the institutionally understood definition of barter is, and it is both a noun and a verb, as you can see. So that I felt is important to remember, in that just like trade, love, and a lot of other things like that, it's both noun and verb, and therefore it is actionable. It's always going to be actionable. And we have always done it. We may not call it barter. Most often it's trade. And it's something that we've done from little tiny kids. We've always done it. And I think sometimes watching kids engaged in play and trading is sometimes the most informative and exciting aspects of, like, it starts here. And then what happened? Like, what happened? Well, how did we lose track of that skill and that involvement in how we interact with each other? And I feel like a lot of that is because of capitalism, just to break it down. Can we have the next slide? Can I try and do it? Let's see. There we go. Bartering is trading. And from our first, I just thought of some examples from when I was a kid. You know, I'll trade you this green dress with the sparkles for those pink pants with the flowers, and then that's before you, like when you're still in your play mode. Then you get a little bit older, you get to grade school, and you trade that nasty sandwich that came in your lunch for, you know, something that you do want. Can someone think of some other examples of when you've traded and it was just a natural action, a natural activity? Yep. Exactly, I love it. And then the key is that there's no money involved. That's what makes it barter instead of purchase or what have you. And you can still purchase with barter, but it's just not engaging in the system. Other examples? Perfect. Exactly. And then it just can balloon up. Like a lot of the ways that governments do what they do is by barter, although they don't call it that. They call it international trade, right? So all the way from exchanging, you know, my Thomas the Tank Engine for your, exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, oh, we're ahead of ourselves, I think. Can I go back this way? Oh, yeah. So even down to, I put, I'll buy if you fly. To me, that's a phrase that was real, that I use a lot. Like, okay, I don't mind if if I don't have to go, I don't mind giving you that dough, and then you're exchanging it and with your time by going to get it, but I'm giving you the dough. So that's a good one. I also put on here lock maintenance equals massage, because for like the last, I want to say 8 to 10 years, I have had an exchange with my loctician, so I haven't actually used cash to do hair maintenance in that amount of time, and she has a regular massage schedule. And then here I put skate rink in exchange for, or equals, and that's another thing, is that the equal sign instead of in exchange for. Because somehow when I say in exchange for, it is, there's a separating or something for me. I don't know if anybody else experiences it that way, but when I say this equals that, it's just really baseline understanding. So here where I say skate rink equals 10 vendors, just recently BAOBOB coordinated a marketplace for an event. The event wanted to have a skate rink for kids and adults as an activity during the event. We worked out an exchange or an equivalency where what it would have cost them to transport that skate rink to the event was about $2,000. They also represented small businesses who wanted to vend at the event. The vending fee was $200 per vendor. So instead of them paying us $2,000 and us charging those vendors, we just did an equivalency And that's, just on another level, all the way up from PB&J for a Jello cup to this. And then, like I say, um, international trade is barter. And really, barter is trade. So there's a lot of preconceived ideas about what are the barriers to barter. Those are some of the ones that I found in a book. But what are some of the ones that you feel like keep you from having barter in your life? Like, do you currently have a barter or a trade in your life that is working right now for you? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 And that's real. That is totally real. And I think that's a lot of the cases for most people. Um, and to that, I would just say that little bits at a time, little bits at a time. And like, there's just no way in this country, or even probably this world, where we're going to be able to have a completely barter-based existence. It would be very, very hard for the reasons that you just outlined. Also, yes, and um, there's a way that you can incorporate barter into your life by budget, like on a budgeted way. So for instance, if you know what your base amount of cash needs to be in your life, PG&E or, MasterCard is not going to accept your barter exchange. So you've got the base things that you have to cover with cash. But in that margin of things that are not in that initial baseline budget, there's a lot that you can do. And also, so back up for a second. So if you have to find a skill and then develop a skill or create a product, that is time consuming. But what are you already doing that you appreciate doing that perhaps you haven't thought of in this way? Like, what hobbies are you doing? Or do you cook? Do you crochet? What are the things that you like to do that you are not currently paid for or not part of your work? Hmm? Hmm? Mm-hmm. And that's so awesome. Just even of that in and of itself. Exactly. Exactly. Hmm. And I think we call it barter to the people because it is a homage to the rally cry of the Panthers, all power to the people. And it feels like a natural fit, a natural progression, because the more of that bartering activity you do, the freer you are from that capitalistic system, that Trisha was talking about this morning, as far as being conditioned to feel completely beholden to that system, but you can step away. You can say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to be consumed that way. How else can I get what I need without participating in that system. Um, I, I kind of came into this whole piece of my awareness around our economic entrapment, if you will, from living outside the country for a little bit and then coming back in and realizing that I had an opportunity to kind of reinvent myself. And what I decided was that I wanted to have something that I could do that had a beginning, a middle, and a very clear end to it. So then I also went into it knowing that I would like to barter, a feeling like I would like to trade what I'm doing. So what I did was go to school to learn massage. And I still do that in addition to working on BAOBOB and our projects, including Barter to the People. But I thought to myself, I'd really like to do this because I want to help people. I liked the feeling of getting an awesome massage myself. And I also like that it is finite. So I can place it here or place it there, and when I'm done, I'm done. That's an intentional way of creating barter in your world. But you also, like you were saying, Adriana, you were saying that things that you're naturally doing that appeal to you, and then you realize, this is something that I could infuse into someone else's life, and then have a trade that way. And this is another aspect of barter too, which is that the aspect of valuing, this is a really important practice. Like how you value something, it may be immensely valuable to you and easily transferable for the other person, and vice versa. So there's a story that you were telling, Lee, maybe you want to share about your trainer and how they fell out of a trade. Not in relation with each other. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, sorry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can get you started on that barter journey. I think what really rings in my mind about the trainer loctician agreement fallout is that they were more focused on the monetary value than the value to themselves, right? They still need to have their hair done, and it's, no, right? Fix it, fix it. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, if you're focused on that okay, so here's another example. I was fortunate enough to have access to some vacation rental property, yeah? And I was also in need of a legal service. And that legal service turned out to be my divorce proceedings. But my attorney was willing to accept, and I went to my attorney and said, I need this service. I don't have the cash. What I do have is this vacation rental, and I'd be happy to trade you a week's worth of vacation for your service. And she said, yeah. And so, I mean, I know that that's above and beyond, and not everybody has that, but what I'm saying there is that she could easily have said, oh yeah, that's good, but let's see, how much is that vacation rental? And if I get it at this time of year, I can get it for that price, and then you're gonna owe me this difference. In this case, it was just like, I really need this, and she was willing and able, and the able is the part where your baseline of your dollar, your budget is met, and then you have this margin above. So that is, or to the left or to the right, whichever way it is. That's an example of being, I think, connected to the need as opposed to the monetary value. Thank you, welcome for being here, y'all. So we're just talking about like what, these, as I said, are examples of barriers that are institutionally recognized, and the reason that those exist is because of capitalism. And if we were to look at each one of those, and they are all refutable, like, okay, mutual coincidence of wants is not a reason not to do barter. It's just it's saying, I ran into you and you have a need at exactly the same time I have a need. It doesn't mean you can't barter, it just means, or you can't trade, it just means it can't be measured and monitored and regulated by the system, yeah? And so on with with these others. Divisibility of goods, we were just talking about that, the fact that if you have a product, an item, a service, you may not be able to divide it up into measurable parts that equal the exact same measurable parts, but but you have something, and if the other person has a need for that thing or wants that thing, then you don't have to divide it up. And difficulty in future payment, it's not a difficulty in future payment. If in part of your agreement is that I'm gonna do this next week for you, then you're going to do it next week for you. There's no difficulty there at all. Common measure of value, we already talked about that too. And lack of specialization, well, we all have a specialization. There's no such thing as a lack of a specialization. So I just found this really interesting that the majority of those barriers are constructs. For instance, they're saying, oh, there's nothing that you have that you can do that somebody else wants. So I, for instance, do massage. That's a specialization, but I don't think that everyone has to have a title after their name in order to be able to exchange or trade. Like Adriana was saying, I think the idea of learning about monarch butterflies and being able to teach someone else that is a specialization, right? It's an exploration of your own purpose and your own need and your own interests, and then sharing that out. We all, oh, my computer's about to die, that's fine. The thing about barter too is that it's inherent in us. It's inherent in us. It's part of what we as a people understand from, the books say 6,000 BC in Mesopotamia and the Phoenicians and all this, and we know better that it's just how we've lived in community since we've lived in community ever. And the piece about it being historically or inherent in us is something that's capitalism. It does a really good job of disconnecting us from. So the thing about money and fiat currency is that it's about immediacy and anonymity, right? Barter is exactly the opposite. Barter is about interconnectedness and about taking your time, about using your time wisely. And it is how we can build networks and build connections, and most importantly, build trust. And I think that barter is this thing where it's almost it is looked at as a secondary or tertiary or not even an important type of exchange in most circles. But in fact, I feel like I'm only gonna barter with you if I trust you. It's an exclusive. It's like, oh, if I'm bartering with you, you're here. If I'm paying you cash, it's just like it's regular. So I feel like it's an elevated way of being together. See if I can make this go. So barter to the people is what we brought together to help folks practice that. And here's how barter to the people works at this event. And I'm really excited that y'all are here so you can maybe think about participating. So what has happened is that folks were invited to do some of the work that we've talked about and identify what they would like to offer. Just what would you like to offer? And then think about at least one or two things that you'd be willing to accept in exchange. And then we put that up in the gallery. And I don't know why the QR code is not there for the gallery. I wanted to share that with you, the virtual gallery. But if you go to the photo booth just inside the hall where we have been having our meals, that photo booth is there, and then there's a QR code where you can tap into the gallery. I wonder, we'll see if we can get the QR code up before we go. But, so there's, I think, 15 or 16 items in the virtual gallery that range from a book, a film screening, a group tour, lots of different things. And they have all been connected with what the offerer is interested to exchange. So take a look. And then the thing is, it's not just limited to the things that the offerer has identified as what they'd be willing to accept. There's also a write-in box. So if you are not able to do any of the things that the offerer has named, they are also willing and open to you to write in what it is that you would be interested to offer. At the end of our stay, the offerers, the sellers, will have the opportunity to review all the bids that were received and then select the one that most works for them. And that's it. And then that's a barter exchange. And the thing is, back in those ancient times, the 6000 BC, that's when barter started, according to the annals of history of commerce. They were using barter even without language, even with language barriers. And it was done in very much the same way we've just described. They put out what they wanted to trade, they'd go away and wait for the next group to come see, and then the next group would see what they left and decide what they wanted to leave in exchange. And if the first group didn't like what they offered, they would leave it there, and then they'd have to come back and bring more of what. And then that happened, but without any conversation, without any words, because it was how things happened. Even they called it silent trade. And so, in a sense, barter to the people is like a silent auction. So if you've ever been to a silent auction, this is exactly the same way that it works, is that you go, you look, you make bids, they decide which one they want, and then that is the receiver of the item. There's still room to include items in the auction, but, and there's a form for that if you'd like to do that too, but there are things there to bid on now. And in this case, we're asking that the exchanges be completed within 4 weeks, just to keep everyone accountable. I would say that just to go, there we go. This is some photos from other barter to the people events that we've done in the past. And then some of the highlights of what is really important, I think, to think about when you are exploring the potential for barter in your world. That you're doing something revolutionary, you're doing something completely juxtaposed to what the system is conditioning you to do and think and feel and operate, that unlike working with cash, you are engaging with other people. You're not doing the anonymous, immediate thing. And that's building community and very much so building trust. And I think that's elevating barter to this, like I was saying before, exclusive, sought after, oh, I would barter with you because I trust you. I would barter with you because I'm in community with you. I don't just barter with anyone. Yeah, and it's economic liberation, and it's also that thought around the difference between, for instance, as I was saying, I worked on learning how to do massage specifically because I wanted to barter. That's an intentional way of having skills and tools around barter, but you don't have to go that way. It can also be based on what your interests are, like Adriana was saying. Tiara? Appreciate that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Awesome. It's super cool. Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you. Thank you. No, that's beautiful. You just wrapped it all up. You just wrapped it all up. Yeah. Exactly. Super awesome. Can I ask you a favor, Ren? Would you mind to maybe refresh the file because I think there's a QR code for the virtual gallery on one of these slides. Let's see. Whoopsie, in the slideshow. It should be no, not there. Go back. Okay. Go da. One more. That one. No, it's not there. Okay. I could put it up on my screen and pass it around. Although my computer is about to die. Let's see. Here you go. It is. It is up at the phono booth. And then maybe if you could go back to this first slide and we could just hear that opening audio one more time. That'd be awesome.
I also have a video if you want it.
Oh, okay, great. Just the opening audio again because now we hear it with new ears. Yep.
I travel to document the effortless beauty. Love to Light. My name is Britt Sense. I am a documentarian from Deep East Oakland. I travel to document the effortless beauty, authentic, unapologetic, divine spirits of melanated people all over the world. When I think of the barter system, I think of the ancient ways that melanated people come from. I think of tribe building. I think of pure connection. I think of transparency. I think of being intentional. I think of activating our spirit to tune into our proper being, which is the creators of this earth. I think of accountability. I think of us getting to the root of our trauma so that we can see ourselves as reflections to not only build ourselves, but each other. We have been conditioned to go against our tribal ways, and practicing the barter system is a revolutionary act against that mentality. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
Thank you. Oh, you have a video?
I thought. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, this is good. But we don't have any sound.
You always.
Oh.
Where is your personal value always more than your bank account? At Barter to the People, that's where. Believe that. Barter is an economic equalizer because everyone has the same amount. We all have 24 hours to spend each day. What if you could use time for what you need without spending your cash? Barter to the People is where price and payment are an agreement between two parties. Here's how it works. The seller sets the price, whether product or service, that they are willing to accept in exchange for the item offered. Shoppers shop the virtual gallery and submit bids for their item of choice. When the auction closes, the seller selects the offer they will accept. The exchange is completed within an agreed time frame. Barter to the People's platform will confirm the winning bid and monitor the exchange to ensure satisfactory completion. In the barter sphere, the seller is the final decider of whether the exchange has been satisfied and both parties have the right to dissolve the agreement with proper notice. Let's get started. For more information, visit BAOBOB Bay Area Organization of Black-Owned Business, www.baobobdirectory.com.
The end. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, so did you get the QR code? Did you go to the virtual gallery? Awesome. Yay. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is a thing to get. For a long time when I would start talking to folks about barter, I always got that, oh, here she comes. That barter lady, that lady who's not going to help us make no money. So it's a really awesome and wonderful thing to sit here and explore that thought with you about how it is important, and it is important. So appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, good question. I forgot to mention that. No, it is not the same with making shea butter. Making shea butter was actually came from me loving to use shea butter and not wanting to buy the shea butter all the time. So I started blending it myself and sharing it with friends. And just like, I made some, I have extra, do you want some, do you want some, do you want some? And then certain friends, especially a few certain special ones, but pretty much everybody has said, oh, that's so good, can you make some? I need some, oh, I ran out, oh, and then it matriculated into, can we include them in the attendee gift bag for the Black Futures Retreat? And I gladly and happily said yes. And but it started out with, yeah, I'm just doing this because I want to, because I love to, because it works for me, it serves me, and then it has grown into something altogether larger than I ever thought it would. And it's a really good example of something that is easily barterable, easily tradable, and easily serves me, my person, too. Great closing note, Lee. Yay, thank you. And just someone asked me earlier what's in it, and I am happy to share that it's all natural stuff. It's just primarily shea butter, but it also has a little bit of coconut oil and a little jojoba oil and vitamin E oil, and then it has essential oils of geranium, cedarwood, sweet orange or tangerine citrus, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think some of them might have a little bit of tea tree oil in it, but not that many of them. Thanks, y'all. You all are the troubadours. Now go out and share it with everybody else. And then the last thing too is that with the Barter to the people, that we have that photo booth that's there, and the photo booth is there for everyone, but especially to document the two parties involved in a successful trade. So if you make a bid on something and your bid is accepted, then we'd love to see you and the offerer to make a photo.